My name's Nigel Spencer, and I'm a Professor of Professional Practice here at the School of Law at Queen Mary University of London. What does that mean? It means I focus on helping our students with programs and new ideas, such as this one, and work a lot with employers. So I put in place placement programs that we do. So my job is to be inside the law school, but face outwards and to think about people's careers as they move on from their undergraduate studies and move on either to graduate and go into the world of legal practice, or to think about master's programs. And so this was one of the ideas that is to help people move into that world of being a solicitor in England and Wales with a qualification and the preparation for the SQE. So delighted to be here today. My background, very briefly, in legal practice for about 20 years. I was at Simmons & Simmons and then Reed Smith, two global law firms for about 7 years each, where I was the global head of learning and development. So I was working on leadership development with all the partners, helping all the graduates coming in as well. And before that, I was working at PwC for 7 years, where I was doing tax law. So I was doing tax and legal services as well, and client-facing work there. So background in legal practice, and now thinking about how can we help our students step from the university and onwards towards their legal careers. That's my job. And Chris, over to you.
Thanks very much, and thank you everybody for joining us today. So I'm Chris Howard. I'm the University Partnerships Director at BARBRI Global. In terms of my background, I qualified as a solicitor with a city firm, Trowers and Hamlins, in the early noughties and practiced as a construction lawyer before then moving into academia. And I've been teaching for about 18 years as a lecturer, and then I joined BARBRI in 2023 as University Partnerships Director. And my role at BARBRI is to oversee and nurture and develop our collaborations with great universities around the country, and we're delighted to be in this collaboration with Queen Mary University of London, and we're going to go on to explain how that collaboration will work. I'll also say a few more words about who BARBRI is, because you may or may not have heard of BARBRI before today, but hopefully we can set some context and explain why we hopefully will be the ideal partner for Queen Mary on this programme.
Lovely, thank you both. So Nigel, I'll pass over to you.
Yeah, should I kick off? So Charlotte, should we move on to the next slide? And for everyone dialing in, really what this is just really to explain almost why we bring in this option. So some of you may know Queen Mary already, or some of you may even be students. But just to say that at graduate level, we have a lot of LLM programs, and we have a lot of, especially very broad options for how you can study an LLM. You can choose specialisms like human rights or banking or tax law or IP, or think of a subject. I mean, you'll know that Queen Mary a Russell Group University, has a lot of very broad options and pathways. And our idea for this program really was simply to add another option, but to do so and to say, okay, we have all this really good teaching and research-based teaching at Russell Group University on the LLM programs, on the master's programs. Wouldn't it be a good idea perhaps to add in the option that for some of your year, in a different choice you can make as part of a master's program, that you could choose to do the preparation program for the new, or quite new still, SQE exam, the solicitor's qualifying examination. Those of you who I'm sure are logging into this call know that that's the examination that is now the required mandatory qualification and examination you need to pass to become a solicitor in England and Wales. So as I say, just to summarize, really the idea here is to say, okay, as one option of an LLM at Queen Mary, yes, you can still choose, and we'll show this in a minute, you can still take one of the pathways you might like to take in terms of the subject matter of the type of law, but instead of some of the modules just being a free choice where you do more academic modules, this program we're introducing now gives you the chance to actually choose to spend that amount of your year choosing the SQE preparation, working with Chris and the BARBRI team. So as on the slide there, I hope that makes sense as a concept. basically what you'll be getting is you will still be attending the LLM modules for a large part of your year. But also you'll have the chance to do BARBRI's teaching during that 12-month period as well. So we're hoping what this offers is a very good LLM program and qualification for people, all within 12 months and including the SQE. So we hope that's quite time efficient for people. We're very conscious, living in London is very expensive. So the whole concept of doing a master's and then thinking, oh, after the master's, I need to do the SQE. What we're trying to help with is saying you can come for 12 months and do your master's program and include the SQE within those 12 months. And as you see on the slide there, Charlotte's put there, of course, if you're an alumna or an alumnus from Queen Mary, you do get the discount, obviously, as well for the graduates who are undergraduates here too. Charlotte, should we just go on to the next slide, if we may? So, which programs at the moment are we looking to add the SQE option into? Well, you'll see here a wide range of programs here, and what we've tried to do, and there may be more added to this, by the way, was looking at all the programs on a case-by-case basis as we develop this idea in the program. But you'll see a wide range of options here. You may be dialing in now and thinking, I'm really interested in criminal justice. I'm really interested in international business law or competition law or human rights law or IP, intellectual property law, international trade law, banking law, finance law, all of these different options. So we've tried to make the option of the SQE fit with the different courses as much as we can to give you as wide an option as possible. You'll also notice on this slide as well, in the middle at the bottom, that the SQE option can also be added to the master's, to the LLM, that is the general laws LLM as well. And that is a course where if you're not sure at the moment, okay, which specialism do I want as my graduate qualification, then you can do the general laws LLM, which allows you to choose across a range of topics still, but you can also add in the SQE to that option too. So the aim is breadth. The aim is to give you choice and allow you to think, okay, I'm thinking of specializing in this area of law for my career or the first phase of my career. And that's what I'd like to do. Or, there may be people who are already a bit more experienced and then thinking that they want to gain the SQE qualification linked to an area they're already specializing in too. So that's the aim of giving choice. Charlotte, should we just flick on to the next slide as well? And this is just basically to explain what I mentioned earlier of how the masters will be structured. You probably know that to get a master's in LLM, you study within your year for 180 academic credits. And that's often made up of modules that are either 30 credit modules or 15 credit modules. And you build up your almost like your curriculum for your year by some things being core on some of those pathways I mentioned, and then having some choices as well. So you build up those choices and those credits for your masters. So for the SQE option, what does that mean? Well, what it means is that you will do 120 credits on campus as part of your normal LLM with all the other members of the cohort who might be doing your human rights law or competition law or whatever LLM you've chosen. And then you will have the chance to spend 60 credits of your year and all the hours of learning related to that on Chris's modules at BARBRI doing their SQE preparation course as well. So that's how we're making up the year. The reason we've done this, and we've thought very carefully about the number of credits that we give to all of these programs and the SQE option, is because we know that the SQE one is quite demanding. So we want to be realistic in the sense of giving you the right number of credits for that time and the hours you will be spending on that SQE course. And Chris and I have had long planning conversations about this, and we've concluded that 60 credits would be the right amount of time for the hours you will spend, and also to make it realistic in terms of you devoting enough time to your SQE studies so that you can be very well prepared for the examinations. Now, just one important point, and I'm sure Chris will elaborate on this as well. we said that the LLM here is to help you with preparation for the SQE. So what does that mean in terms of the final exams? So what our LLM includes is all your face-to-face credits on your specialism at Queen Mary in the modules that you might choose in banking law, human rights law, for example. It includes completing the preparation courses from Chris at BARBRI. And then we assess, and we will assess this in terms of a reflective portfolio. We will assess for the LLM purposes your work on the SQE modules through a reflective portfolio. And then it will be outside of the LLM that you will actually then take the formal accredited examinations as part of that. I think all of the education providers take that approach. It's for many reasons, but also so that we can structure the learning in a good way and make sure that we are helping you to do the preparation courses and then helping you also to be ready. Sorry, forgive the background noise here. Helping you to do the preparation courses and be ready. And what we are doing with Chris very carefully is planning the timing of those preparation courses you do as part of our LLM so that they fall at the right time of the year, so that if you want to, you can immediately take outside of the course that examination in parallel as well. So I hope that's helped in terms of the structure of the year. So again, just to summarize, 180 credits gets you your LLM, your master's. 120 credits will be the Queen Mary face-to-face talk modules as part of your chosen specialism. 60 credits, you'll be using Chris's learning platform that he's going to move on to show you now to do your preparation work too. So Charlotte, that's the structure of the course. If there's anything you'd like to add there, Charlotte, in terms of what we've...
No, I don't think so. I think that's perfectly explained, Nigel.
Cool. Okay. And the next slide, Charlotte, do we...
We're over to
and
Chris.
now we hand over to Chris. So Chris, great to have you with us. And I'll let you talk about the 60, the hours that the students will spend on the 60 credits with yourselves.
Absolutely. And again, thank you so much for having me today. So first of all, a quick word about BARBRI. If we could go to the next slides, please, Charlotte. And to the next slide, please. Thank you. So if you haven't heard of BARBRI, BARBRI is a company that was founded in America about 55 years ago. And we've been training generations of lawyers to become, in the US, attorneys. Obviously, now we're in the UK training solicitors for many, many years. And we believe we have the greatest expertise in preparing people for what we describe as licensure exams, so examinations that prepare you for practice. We've had around 1.4 million alumni since we started back in the day, and now we've been in the UK since 2020, preparing people for the SQE. And one of the reasons that we brought our operation to the UK is because in many ways the SQE is modelled on the US bar, which has been our core preparation program for many, many years. So we're a leader in the US. If you've ever watched Suits, you'll have heard of us because we're mentioned in the first episode, one of our claims to fame. But I guess the reason I make that point is just to demonstrate that we are a household name in preparing people for these kind of practice exams, and we've developed technology that we think is second to none. Next slide, please, Charlotte. We also work very closely with industry, just as Queen Mary does. So as Queen Mary has got some great relationships with law firms, we have those relationships as well. And again, since we've been in the UK, we've been training a variety of firms, some of their different cohorts, trainees, paralegals, and so on, to undertake the SQE examination and indeed to undertake the US bar. So some of the people we've had different types of relationship are on that slide. And I guess one of the reasons I mention that is partly to hopefully give you some confidence that we know what we're doing, but also to just kind of emphasize the point that we find the best prepared students, the students who have the best chance of success in SQE, are those who are supported by an entire network. And for students who study with us at law firms, that means the sponsorship and support of their law firm. And here at Queen Mary on the LLM, the equivalent will be the support that you're going to get, obviously from ourselves, but also from Nigel and all of the team within the Faculty of Law. Next slide, please, Charlotte. Now, why is it that Queen Mary have partnered with us, and why is it that we think that the SQE requires specialist training. Well, a few quick words about what the SQE is, just in case you're still unsure on this. So in terms of exam topics, the SQE is a broad range of English law and English professional practice topics. So business law and practice, contract tort. You'll recognise, for those of you who've done an LLB, we'll recognise some of those subjects in terms of the substantive law, but there's a whole host of practice subjects that typically aren't within a standard LLB. And so you need to be prepared for all of those in conjunction. And we put it in big letters at the bottom, pervasive subjects like ethics and professional conduct, which can come into any of these practice areas. So those are the subject areas. Next slide, please, Charlotte. And how are you tested on those subject areas? Well, if we start with SQE1, so the SQE1 examination is an online test, but you have to sit it in an appropriate test center. You can sit it overseas, but again, you have to check there's a test center that's available. It's a 2-day exam with in total 360 questions. It's broken up into chunks, so you have a sort of roughly 2.5 hours, then a break, and then another 2.5 hours. And you'll be hit with question after question on any of the subjects that were on the previous slide. And I guess one of the key points here is that this form of testing, which is technically called single best answer, it requires a very specific skill set to get used to answering those questions and answering them under pressure, because you have about 1.5 minutes per question roughly to assimilate the question and answer it. And secondly, many students who are unfamiliar with this form of testing aren't used to having a complete mix of subjects. So although there are 2 broad groupings called FLK1 and FLK2, on any given exam, you might go from a land law question to a dispute resolution question to an ethics question in quick succession, and that requires real mental agility and skill. There are 2 opportunities to do the exam, and again, we've made sure that the LLM is timed such that you can sit the assessment in an appropriate exam window. Next slide, please, Charlotte. SQE2, which is also part of our offering with Queen Mary, is a skill exam. Well, it's a skill exam with context. So on the right-hand side, you'll see all of the different legal contexts that can be used or are used for the skill assessments. And obviously, you'll recognize those from the list that I presented before. And one of the benefits of being a BARBRI student through SQE1 and SQE2 is you can continue to refer back to your books from the SQE1 program, and obviously you'll have that preparation fresh in your mind that you did for SQE1 to give you those legal content. You need to pick up and understand the skills and test yourself. So it's a combination of 6 skills, some oral skills, advocacy and interviewing, and then a series of written skills in terms of things like drafting and research. And again, ethics will be part of the testing. Now, the testing is done for the oral skills in person, live with an assessor in the room, which is one of the reasons why at the moment you can only undertake those skills in the UK, or rather those assessments in the UK, although I think the SRA is hoping to open that to an international opportunity later. Within the BARBRI program, you will be given preparation and practice assessments for all of those skills, and we'll talk about that in a moment. Next slide, please, Charlotte. In terms of the exam for SQE2, you have to have passed SQE1. Should alter that slide so it's available to book after passing SQE1. And the oral assessments, as I say, are carried out in the test centre, as are the written assessments. There are 4 windows for that assessment, and again, we've made sure that the structure of the LLM accommodates a window that works for students doing this program in a 12-month period. Next slide, please, Charlotte. So how do we prepare you for those exams? And just to reiterate what Nigel was saying, you will be booking those exams yourself, paying for those exams yourself separately from the LLM. But one of the things, in case I forget to mention it, that we do at BARBRI is we make sure that as well as preparing you for the exams themselves, we also give you steers on how to book, when the booking windows open, and all the information you need to make sure you're prepared to actually book yourself onto the program. But turning to the assessments, how do we prepare you? What does our technology involve? Next slide, please. Well, when it comes to particularly SQE1, but also the knowledge components of SQE2 and indeed the skills, The way I describe it is that our job at BARBRI is to make the law stick, make the principles that you'll be tested on sticky in your head so that you've got them at your fingertips and you've got the agility to get through this very rigorous test. So all of our lectures, and we use online recorded lectures, and I selected one with me in it. I lecture on tort as part of the program. Are interspersed with activities, because one of the things that we're really keen to make sure is that students are engaged with all of our activities. So that's why the lectures have questions and other activities interspersed through them. We use a form of pedagogy or educational technique called spaced repetition. So you'll be given some information about a particular subject, and then there'll be a pause and you'll be asked to study other things, and then you'll be coming back to that. And that's one of the ways our learning science tells us that knowledge can be embedded in a way that it becomes available to you when you need it. One of the key messages about the program is what we call the PSP, the personal study plan. The personal study plan is built into, and it's really the DNA of what BARBRI is all about. When you log in, when you're given your credentials for our platform as part of the LLM program, you will then be able to tailor a calendarized program of study for yourself for the period in which you'll be studying during the LLM. And what that means is that each day you'll be prompted to either do reading activities, self-test activities, lecture activities, or attend an online workshop. And that tailoring means that you can go at your own pace in a way that works for you, using the bite-sized materials throughout. And the other thing that we do throughout the program is focus on exam technique. We have sessions that we call SQE Sorted, which are purely about how do I mentally prepare for these exams? How do I mentally prepare for the exercise of undertaking these assessments in quick succession? Next slide, please. So just again, a quick whistle through the key features of the SQE1 prep. So we have, as I mentioned, the personal study plan, which I'll show you a couple of quick visuals on in a moment. If you go back to the previous slide, Charlotte. We have, as I mentioned, the video lectures. We've got around about 3,000 practice questions, which is more than enough to give you lots and lots of self-test opportunities, because that's one of the most important ways that you learn, and you learn to pass this test. And of course, we conclude the program with a full simulated exam so that you can really test yourself in exam conditions. One thing to emphasize is that although we are online providers, although the study is based on our online platform, there's a whole bank of human beings in the background to support you. So we have what we call learning coaches, and those learning coaches will be available to you, and you can book a one-to-one session at any time throughout the course, obviously with some parameters in terms of our learning coaches' timings, but essentially you'll have unlimited access to our learning coaches throughout the session, and those learning coaches are qualified lawyers who've got the teaching ability and the skill set to guide you through. We also have a function called Fresh Desk, where you can email in a question. So obviously not all of our learning coaches are able to teach or advise on all legal subjects, because there are so many of them, but equally we have a bank who do cover all of those subject areas, and you can email in a question at any time and expect a response within ideally a day, but certainly no more than 3 days in terms of turnaround time. As I mentioned, we also have the Prep for Success workshops, and we also have strategy sessions on not just how to undertake the study, but also how to book into the exam and so on and so forth. Finally, we've also got our own careers and employability team. So as in conjunction with Queen Mary's careers and employability team, you'll have the best of both worlds in terms of provision and guidance on where to go after you've completed your SQE. Next slide, please. Very similar for the SQE2, but the big difference is that actually our SQE2 prep obviously is focused around the type of assessments you'll be undertaking for SQE2. So that means you have both self-mark and full feedback activities. We call them PFAs. You also have mock exams, workshops, weekly drop-in sessions. So we have weekly sessions where our tutors are available to you to answer questions and help you with your studies. And of course, there are specific workbooks for this program, which you'll both get in digital form and hard copy form. Next slide, please. So just a quick look at what the materials look like. As I mentioned, the personal study plan is a very specific and well-tooled piece of technology, and it's available both on your PC and on your mobile via the mobile app and daily you'll be given a list of the assignments you need to carry out. Next slide, please. So that's a little quick look at what that looks like, and obviously you get the nice green completed sign when you've finished the activity. And of course you can always go back and look at the materials and search. We added some extra search functionality this year to our latest version of the platform, which means that you can pull out, if there's a particular subject you want to do a deep dive into, you can pull out the necessary materials from that. Next slide, please. Stick with the program. Nigel said that I was going to tell you the hours of study. Approximately for SQE1, you're looking at about up to 400 hours of study. For SQE2, more like 200 hours of study. So it's a big chunk. Obviously, that depends on how well versed you are already in some of the subject areas and your speed of learning and so on. But the key to success, and I can't emphasize this enough, is stick with the program. We start everybody's day with an inspirational message about resilience and learning, and I put a couple of those inspirational messages on the right hand side, but it's all about maintaining structure, maintaining discipline, and if you complete that magic 90% of the PSP, you put yourself in the best position for success. We will be supporting you all the way through. We will be in touch with Queen Mary, so it's not that you're being handed to us by any means. We are working in very close collaboration. So Nigel and his team and our team will be monitoring your progress and able to help you and intervene if you have issues. Obviously, you'll complete the mocks and you'll continually engage in self-reflection. And we encourage you to use all of the facilities of BARBRI, the learning coaches, and obviously use all the facilities of Queen Mary as well. And in that supported environment, you will give yourself the absolute best platform you can. One thing I'd just add is that some students at the start find it a bit kind of discombobulating to be learning in a very new way, but that's because this is a new type of assessment and it requires a different outlook and a different way of understanding. So again, my advice to students in the first few weeks is just stick with it. And our students consistently say that once they lock into the rhythm of our program, it really starts to flow, and actually they find it incredibly beneficial. Next slide, please. So that's an example of what our question sets look like. Next slide, please. Just going to whistle through a few of these visuals. This gives you some indication of the kind of data that you can engage with throughout the program in terms of your ongoing success. Next slide, please. Again, I mentioned we give you full feedback on your mock exams. Next slide, please. This is just a visual of our 3 core books, so one for FLK1, one for FLK2, and then we also created a revision guide, which is a summary set of notes. Now, that might look a relatively light load, but each of those books, certainly the 2 on the right-hand side, is around about 700 pages. So there's plenty of detail in there, and obviously we have the same sort of provision for SQE2 with our study guides. Next slide, please. And that's what they look like inside a fully manipulable program. As I mentioned, we have our own careers and employability team. I won't say too much about this, but again, I think you'll find it's really complementary to the careers and employability support that you get from Queen Mary. Next slide, please. And again, this is a bit of a deeper dive into our careers provision, which includes both personal support and also a series of online tools to help you with your job applications. Because as Nigel said, one of the reasons for doing this LLM with SQE Prep is you want to create maximum efficiency for your career progress. You want to gain that credential through the LLM from Queen Mary, but you also want to be on your career journey, trying to achieve your career goals, and we can help you as much as we can. Next slide, please. So final comment from our students. So just in case you're thinking it's just me talking, so these are some of the reviews we've had, and I think these actually reflect a lot of the things that I've tried to mention in terms of our selling points. So, you know, looking at the content, the PSP, people are always really pleased with the spaced learning approach once they've really engaged with it. Glad to see that students find our lectures clear. And again, I think on that bottom right hand side, the organization is something that students pick up on. We are our only and single goal is to get you through those SQE exams, and we have tooled our entire system to enable that, and it's a pleasure to be able to offer that to Queen Mary students. Next slide, please. So that is it from me, and now I think we're opening for questions.
Yeah, and just to say before we go to questions, Charlotte, I mean, Chris, I know you mentioned this, but students or potential students, when I when I saw Chris's platform, first of all, and a long, long time ago now, the thing that really impressed me about the platform is how you really can tailor your study plan. So you can customize it. You know, if you know you're busy with lectures on a certain day of the week, you can, you know, just schedule it. So say, okay, I need to do my SQE learning on a different day, and you can book that in so you can keep on track. Or if you have other commitments on a certain day. So it's just really, really helpful. And I think, as you say, Chris, it's absolutely about discipline. And I've heard that so often from lots of students who've been through successfully through your programs as well. But
I think that's right. Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, again, this is a very tight program in terms of a lot of coverage, both from the Queen Mary content and the BARBRI content. But I guess another part of our job is to take the admin off your hands. So we do the heavy lifting when it comes to, as you say, Nigel, organizing your schedule. So you can literally plug in almost by day which parts of the day you're available to study, and then it'll build your study plan around you.
Yeah, which is super. And you know, and I can't emphasize enough as well, all the practice you'll get exactly in the format that you need to from the BARBRI technology to practice the, you know, the multiple choice questions, as you say, Chris, the speed of it, getting used to what does single best answer mean and how do I get my head into getting those right is pretty critical. But Charlotte, let's go to questions.
Lovely, thank you. That was a really good insight actually for me as well, Chris, because Nigel has seen all this stuff before, but it was really helpful for me to see how it works on the BARBRI side. So thank you. I've answered a few questions as we've gone along, which I will cover afterwards, but I've marked a few that I think will be helpful for us all to look at. So one that I can answer. So Albert has asked if he's eligible for the program, if he's already submitted an application. So I checked this because I thought this might come up. So if you've already submitted an application to study in LLM with Queen Mary and you've got an offer and you want to do the SQE prep, you can absolutely change to have the SQE prep as part of your LLM. You just need to contact the admissions team via the portal. However, you can't do that after you've enrolled. So it has to be before September, before you've gone through enrollment. So if you think you do want to do this as part of your LLM, then apply for it or contact admissions before September.
Yeah.
Okay, the next one was about, which was interesting actually.
About timings. Yeah, about timings.
About timing.
Shall I have a go at this, Charlotte?
Yeah,
so thank you, Eleanor, for this question. So Eleanor's question, I don't know if all of you logged on have seen this. So basically Eleanor's saying, what about the potential overlap in dates between SQE prep and exams and the deadlines for any LLM coursework from the Queen Mary modules as well? For example, if we're aiming to take SQE around January 2026 for the September 25 intake, will we have coursework deadlines? So the way that we spent a lot of time thinking about this, Eleanor, because as you say, this needs to be practical as well. So what Chris and I have done is we've spoken to Shalini Pereira and Leonie. Shalini is one of our senior lecturers who's our LLM director at Mile End. Leonie also, who program manages lots of the LLM programs. And so what we've done is in the balance of the semesters or the terms, whatever you want to call them, the 3 semesters, let's say, Eleanor, as you say, you were starting in September, we've deliberately balanced how many credits you would do on your QM side, because we know that, for example, that would be a time when you were quite busy in the first semester with Chris's material from the SQE. And then on your question of exams, as that rolls forward to January, so I just had a quick look at the exams. So, for example, the last year's exam timetable at Queen Mary was the 6th to the 21st of January, and for exams, and 6th to the 13th for course submissions of January. And looking ahead on the SRA's website, the FLK, the Functioning Legal Knowledge 1 and 2 exams for for SQE are between the 12th and the 23rd of Jan. So what will need to happen there is that we'll be making sure that, for example, when there are exam days, that you're busy with your QM modules and those exams in the January, those fall on different days and give you enough space as well to do the SRA exams. Chris, you may know more about booking onto the SRA website than I do, but I know there'll be different slots, because I know that, you know, the functioning legal knowledge test for SQE1, that happens within that period of the 12th to the 23rd. That's on a few days, and the other one's on the other days. But Chris, do you have anything to add there?
Yeah, no, not really. As you've said, we'll be making sure that we coordinate things so that you've got space to undertake both sets of assessments. Obviously, the assessment for the BARBRI material in terms of its relevance to the LLM program will be very carefully managed as well to make sure that it's complementary and that you've got plenty of time to undertake that work.
Yeah.
And in terms of, yes, booking, it's I guess the key to me is fact find. So early on in the program, we will be giving you updates from BARBRI's end on when the booking window opens and how to book. And again, the more information you can gather to understand that process. I sometimes joke to people that booking onto the SQE exam is more difficult than the SQE itself. It's not quite that simple, if only it were, but it certainly is can be a challenge, because one of the things that seems to happen every year is that Kaplan, who's the organization that runs the SQE exams on behalf of the SRA, the Solicitor Regulation Authority, often make changes to the process. So again, you just need to keep alive to those, but we will undertake to make sure that you're kept abreast of those changes as well.
Yeah, I hope that helped, Eleanor, on your question there. Charlotte, shall I move on to the next one about Merv's,
Yeah, of course.
Merv's
Yeah.
question? Yeah, is that okay? So good question, Merv. So I said, obviously, the SRA's exam that we've just been talking about, that's external to the LLM. So your question of how and when do we demonstrate that we accomplished the 60 credits of the BARBRI preparation? We'll know from all the data how much you've been working through the material, so it'll be clear that you've been working on the material. And even if you didn't want, at that moment during this year that you're doing the LLM, even if you didn't want to take the exam, what we are going to do to assess your SQE1 module and SQE2 module is you are going to do a reflective portfolio. So you're going to do a reflective portfolio of your study on the SQE1 and a reflective portfolio of your study on SQE2 as well. So Merv, that's how we're going to assess it for the purposes of the LLM. So you'll be doing your QM modules face-to-face, and for the SQE modules, you'll be doing your study on the BARBRI system. You'll do your reflective portfolio, which we will assess for the LLM purposes to make sure, and that will be a pass-fail assessment. That won't be like a credit, distinction, merit, and stuff like that. It'll be a pass-fail assessment on those. That will be from a reflective portfolio for each of those modules, SQE1, SQE2. And then if you want to, then you can take the external SQE exams as well. But I hope that helps, Merv, in sense of how we'll demonstrate the accomplishment there.
And I think, just to echo that, one
please,
of the reasons
Chris,
that we're really pleased with the approach that Queen Mary are taking by using a written reflection is that we really encourage our students to be reflective on their learning journey throughout the BARBRI materials. And so it's a very nice complement that will help focus your mind, and I think really help you focus on your studies. Yeah,
no, indeed. And that's so. Yeah, hope that was clear. There's one about a personal statement there, Charlotte. I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, I can help with that. I think your answer just to that question as well answered another one further down. So, Steve, a question that you answered. Hopefully, that what Nigel just said helped with that. So, so the next question is from Tegan, who said, "What would you suggest to put in a personal statement to apply for the course?" So, the personal statement for your LLM with the SQE doesn't change to what you would apply for just your standard LLM. So when you're applying for your LLM, you have to have a personal statement as part of that, and it's a letter of intention, I think they call it. And it's just explaining why you want to study that program. You don't need to necessarily put anything different in to say about the SQE in that. You can if you want to, but we will assess them fairly across whether you're just doing a specialist LLM or one with SQE. So the key thing I'd say is to explain why you want to study on that program, if you've done any work experience or anything from your undergraduate degree, as why you're interested in intellectual property or human rights, what sparked that interest, and that is absolutely fine.
Very good. Okay.
Okay. So the next one is,
should we do Steve's?
What does the timeline look like?
Yeah, exactly. So, Steve, let me just cover this off for you. Your first of your questions about the timeline. This goes back a little bit to what I said earlier, that for the 60 credits, we know you'll be busy with SQE1 early. So what we've done there, and this reflects the hours and long discussions with Chris and planning on this, you'll get 45 of those 60 credits. So 45 credits will be for doing SQE1 prep course, and 15 credits we'll be doing for SQE2. So that makes up your 60. And then what we've done in terms of the semesters, Steve, let's just take a September start, is because we know the SQE1 course will be busy in that term, we're giving, so you'll do 45 credits of the SQE1 prep in semester A from September through to just after Christmas. And then because you're busy doing that, you'll have less QM face-to-face modules in that term. You'll have between 30 and 45 credits. And that absolutely aligns, Steve, and everyone with the maximum that we normally ever expect anyone to do in a term. I think the maximum is up to 90. So, but you can actually dial that down a little bit. You can do your 45 credits of SQE1 with, you know, just with 30 other QM credits in that semester, and then build up your QM credits in the later terms. So I hope that helps, Steve. We've put a lot of thought into not overloading you in certain times of the year. I mean, yes, it will be busy. And Chris, you've made the point to me often about this. It's, you know, as you said, it's needing to be really serious, really focused on the SQE1, especially that learning and that. But Chris, anything you'd like to add about that in terms of work?
Yeah, I think it's just, you know, we always encourage our students at BARBRI to treat the BARBRI process and learning as almost like a job in its own right. So rather than thinking of it, I don't know about you, but when I was certainly an undergraduate student, sometimes my timings and my approach to lectures and so on could be a bit fluid. When it comes to this, this is part of your professional training, and just as it's always been, when you get to that year of professional training, you really need to treat your studies as a full-time job during that period. And that means, as Nigel said, a very careful coordination of your ongoing studies with BARBRI and the volume of study that you'll be doing for the LLM for your specialist modules. So you need to keep that balance. You need to make sure you're the minimum working sort of 9 to 5, 9 to 6 type day. And then around that, as we've said, we can help you build your own schedule so that, again, you can use all of your available opportunities. Obviously, you'll be wanting to do other things in terms of employability, and your schedule may not be a complete kind of 9 to 5, 5-day a week approach. It might be a more mixed approach, but either way, it's about discipline management and treating this as a, you know, full-time job for the period of the year of this course. But I think you'll find it a really stimulating year, and again, to have exposure to both preparation for the SQE and specialisms from the faculty team at Queen Mary, I think will be an outstanding opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. I think that's really good advice, Chris, that we say as well to students about treating it like a full-time job, just to manage expectations and what will be expected for you, and particularly with this program as well, for the LLM and the SQE prep. Okay, so the next question was about the tuition fee. So the question was, what is the tuition fee for LLM and BARBRI? Is it the same as what's stated online? And that's correct. So the payment that you'll make will go directly to us at Queen Mary, and then we manage it from there. So you don't need to worry about anything else. That will be the fee that you see online on the website is the fee of how much the cost is. And obviously the exam is separate to that, which leads on quite nicely to the next question, which is in terms of doing SQE1 and 2, does this mean we'd have to do an exam with an SQE exam provider? So that's probably one question, Chris, which you can probably answer quite easily.
So the question is, are you doing the exam with an exam provider?
Yeah.
So just to be super clear on this, and I'm really pleased for the previous question about fees and so on. So there's no additional fee for the BARBRI training. That is part of the LLM course fee. But where there is an additional fee is for the exam, and we BARBRI do not run the exam. The exam, the SQE1 and the SQE2, are both run by Kaplan, who is a provider of assessment on behalf of the Solicitors Regulation Authority. So you book yourself onto the SQE1 and then later onto the SQE2 via Kaplan's website, which is completely separate to both QMUL and BARBRI, and there is a process for getting a seat and taking the exam at a test centre that's local to you in the UK, and so on. So yeah, whole process there, but all of that is separate to everything you do on the LLM. But our careers team, our faculty team, and indeed the Queen Mary team will be able to guide you through that process as a separate undertaking.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris. And the
Lovely.
deadlines, as Chris hinted already, actually, Tiffany, BARBRI has a triggering point to almost to remind the students, oh, the window's open for looking for some slots now. So that will help you, of course, going back to that question earlier about how do you manage sort of avoiding other exam days as well in terms of QM exam days. So that was the aim of that. Charlotte, Albert's question.
Yes, so Albert's asked about if international students are eligible. So at the moment, we're currently unable to accept applications for students requiring a student route visa to study in the UK at the moment. We're hoping this will change in the future, but as we're going through processes for approval at the moment by the UK Home Office. So currently, if you do require that visa, we can't accept you onto the programme right now. However, as I said, we hope this will change, and we have some register interest buttons online, and we'll communicate this as soon as this has changed, hopefully in the future.
Yeah. No, thank you. As Charlotte says, with any new program, you always need to get these validations in place. So we wanted to get the program out there for the students who weren't needing a visa. We appreciate this is very attractive also for those of you who are perhaps dialing in today, even from other jurisdictions and who would need a visa, but we just need to go through those validations, as Charlotte said. Great question. Next, sorry, Charlotte, please.
I'm just going to say we've got another 5 minutes, so we're going to try and whiz through them a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Okay. So
the next one. Go on then, Nigel.
No, all I was going to say was Adele. Thank you for the question. So Adele's question: how much do you have to sacrifice from other modules for doing the SQE? Basically, Adele, the way this always used to work with QM with Queen Mary Masters courses is, say, for example, you wanted to do tax, or as you say here, like art and business, for example, you would have certain core modules that were mandatory or, really strongly suggested you should do as electives, and then you would have free choices. Now, often, and Charlotte, correct me if I'm wrong, I think the free choice actually was usually 60 credits, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
So actually, in a way, Adele, this doesn't change anything. All this is in effect doing is giving you the same opportunity to choose all the specialisms, say, of art and business that you wanted to do anyway. And then in what would have been a free choice, you're actually using that free choice of 60 credits for the SQE rather than doing any other modules as well. So obviously, you're absolutely right. Yes, it's not 180 credits. Absolutely, it's less. But we wanted to offer this opportunity where you could still get that lot of detail on the specialism you wanted, but in the same 12-month period, give you the chance to do the prep course, just so it was time efficient for you. So that's the goal of what we're trying to do, give you a super duper, give you choice. So choose your specialism of art and business and law. Also get through everything in a year and be ready or have completed the SQE and ready to have moved on. So that was the goal, Adele. I hope that's helped in sense. But it's absolutely the same balance. Absolutely the same balance you would have had normally with your free choice. Chris.
And a very quick comment for me. To me, this is one of the real virtues of this program, that the SQE itself as a consolidated set of knowledge is around the basic fundamentals of law and legal practice, but it doesn't allow you to specialize. Whereas with this program, you can also get that advanced specialist law as well. Yeah.
Do you support qualifying work experience from Midori? I heard qualifying work experience is the most difficult for foreigners. So I suppose one thing about Queen Mary, I would say, is that, and one reason I've ended up at Queen Mary, I think, all my years in practice, were actually because Queen Mary has very, very strong links to employers. And we have, for example, I manage at undergraduate level a placement degree that we have where you go out and work for a year at some of the big law firms or a big in-house legal department at Chanel. We have lots of really interesting relationships with employers. We have shorter term internships as well, Midori as well. So we have, for example, ones advertised for in the summers in different countries. And so we do support, we look out and we try and help you get things like qualifying work experience. Don't forget, with qualifying work experience, you need to build up 2 years of it, but you're only allowed to do that at 4 different places. So that's really important to think. You need almost like chunky bits of qualifying work experience. So there will be opportunities to apply for internships, but given that this year is going to be very busy, I anticipate you will be looking for the qualifying work experience probably after this year. But absolutely, we have lots of relationships with employers. We have lots of jobs advertised for our graduates that are always put out there on the careers website. With so there is, we absolutely support you getting that. Yeah, scholarships, Charlotte.
Yeah, I'm speeding through some of them answering because we'll need to finish up. So there isn't scholarships particularly for the SQE prep. However, if there are scholarships that we offer widely as Queen Mary that you're eligible for, you can absolutely do that and still have a scholarship, and that would apply to this program. It's just an additional study option that's kind of bolted on top of the LLM. So if you want to apply for the scholarship that's particularly for energy and climate change law, for example, which we have, you could still apply for that with the SQE prep.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a couple more and then we're going to finish because we're nearly at the end of time. So a couple.
Okay, should we do this one from Steve? Because this is a good question. So Steve, you asked, why does QM not take the SQE exam results for the SRA as almost like the assessment, as you say, rather than doing a portfolio? There are many reasons for this. First of all, Steve, not everyone may want to do the exam at the same time as doing the LLM. They may want to do the prep course, but may not want to take the exam for various reasons. So we didn't want to almost force everyone to do the exam if they might not have wanted to. For example, we believe strongly in the building reflective practitioners. So we wanted to do an assessment that was within QM to manage as well. That was the key point as well, because as you know, Steve, it had to be in a, we have to do something for LLM purposes, which we can assess and we can sign off from a QM and BARBRI point of view, but from QM point of view. So that's why we put in place the portfolio. But it was partly also because, as I say, we didn't know whether everyone would actually want to take the external exam at the same time. So it was, to be honest, Steve, it was very practical reasons. But Chris, please.
And just very quickly to add, obviously, you need to be focused on the goal for each assessment. If it's a Queen Mary assessment, you need to be focused on the fact that it's part of your LLM and that you're undertaking it within Queen Mary's guidance. If it's the external exam, you need to be focused on it as the external exam. And another reason I think was we felt that placing the kind of additional pressure, if you like, or kind of slightly different parameters on the SQE as part of the LLM would confuse matters and not leave you in a good place. So it's much better to keep your focus clear on what's the objective and which piece of the puzzle is it relevant to.
Yeah, no, thank you, Chris and Steve. I hope that helps on that. But as I say, it was for very practical reasons that we decided that. So there we go. Charlotte, back to you. But
Lovely.
Thank you, just from me, massive thank you for attending, and hope this sounds an interesting option for you all to consider. But Charlotte,
lovely, thank you, everyone. I've just left the program routes here because there was a couple of questions about it, just for clarification. So these are all the program routes that are available to have the SQE preparation as a study option attached to it. So I hope that was helpful for you. A huge thanks to Nigel and Chris for your time today in presenting about the program. This session has been recorded, so I will send this out to you all if you want to catch up on it, and obviously anyone that missed it would be able to catch up as well. And if you have any questions, our information was on that slide at the end, which is PG law-inquiries@qmul.ac.uk. So if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch, and myself and the team will get back to you. But that's it from us. Thank you very much, everyone, and wish you a lovely rest of your day.
Lovely to be in touch, everyone.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Take care, everyone. Bye now.
Bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.